What's going
Back to the
on?
normal little ding.
Ding.
It was weird. Last time it said in my ear, it actually said, "You are now recording." I'm like, "Oh, this is fucking weird.
I wonder
But
what's
now, obviously, I've got my microphone back. I've got the internet back. Not going 5G on it.
5G. I
But
wonder what's being heard in Prescott's ear tonight.
you fucking suck, you scrub.
Ah,
I can't even. Well, no, I can't even say it. He doesn't
no,
suck. He played a damn good game.
he did. He really did.
But
And you know he did. And Lamb obviously held up his end of the bargain. He was another 150 plus yarder game for him.
yeah, I think he had like 170 some yards.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, look, they ran up the numbers, but you know what?
But they didn't fucking win.
No, and that's the thing. And I think that's been the whole MO for this entire season for the Eagles is that, you know, where they sit now, heading into the bye, 8-1?
Yeah,
And
8-1.
and it's wild. You and I did our yearly predictions, and you know, we were pretty real about it. We both kind of suggested that at this point in the season that they'd have, you know, maybe upwards of 2 losses.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty spot on right now.
Yeah, I think I had them losing to the Jets, but that was before we knew about
Hey, Ron.
Aaron. But it ended up being right anyway.
Right.
And then I think you had them losing to Washington in one of the games. And I think that was it.
Which wasn't far off if you think about it, because those have been
Yeah.
probably the most contested games, really.
Right.
Um,
So we're sitting right around where we thought we'd be roughly, because here let's be real. Neither of us knows what the fuck we actually said because it's been a while since we recorded that episode, and neither of us has the sheet that we wrote down our actual picks on.
no, we typically had run into these things with doing some legitimate like online note taking, you know, utilizing Google Docs or whatever. But I know I just wung it on that one. I really did. I just kind of was like, just go. Because I kind of knew it was, and I'll be honest, and it was legit. I honestly thought that this season was going to be pretty much as advertised as where it's at right now. You know, I didn't want to predict into much like the year before what the playoff scene was going to look like. You know, barring outside anything crazy, I knew this year was going to be another playoff contending team.
Right.
This should be no surprise to anybody.
Exactly. So
would like to kind of take real quick and kind of see what you think about where we're at the first 9 games heading into the bye week, and you know what could possibly be done better, what's been going right, and what would you like to see kind of moving forward?
So definitely the offensive play calling, and you know, we sit here and complain about the offense, but they're playing damn good football. It's just more consistency is what I need to see.
Right.
As far as, you know, leaning on the run game more, which they did to a fair degree in this game. It wasn't as effective. But I would like to see more of a rotation with Kenny Gainwell and Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift, or lean on DeAndre Swift. But whatever you got to do to get the running game untracked and back where it needs to be going, like it was in the beginning of the season. So we need to concentrate on that. The red zone offense needs to be cleaned up, obviously. Less stupid penalties. Special teams was a little shaky today, but it's been much improved. So I don't have too much to say there. But on defense, man, our defensive backs are just not doing it.
Right.
It looks like, I mean, look, they're all making plays at certain times, but they're very inconsistent. And part of that is I think that we're not getting as much pressure as we were last year. And so that's leading to more time for the quarterback to sit in the pocket and pick apart the coverage and to be able to, attack where they need to. Part of it is just that the coverage hasn't been as good. And I look at, Slay and Bradbury. You've got a ton of young guys back there You've got inconsistency with the starters because everybody's been getting hurt, and that's something you can't really, there's no magic spell for that to make that stop. But we need a little bit more cohesiveness and a little bit more production out of defensive backs, and hopefully with Byard coming in here. This is his second week now, and he's played okay. Reed Blankenship, I think, has been their best defensive back, and I'd like to see them in another couple weeks and see where they're at. So
yeah. No, I do love when they brought in Byard was amazing. I think that's going to kind of solidify the defense in that particular sense, mainly because, look, the safeties, D-backs all the way around, man, just banged up. I mean, just banged up. And so there's a reason why they had to swing that, But again, to me, it looks like another genius Howie Roseman move. Just bringing in what you need and not just bringing in some scrub. You're bringing in an all-pro and Byard, and that was a huge move. And that'll shore that up, hopefully, barring anything else, crazies, injuries, whatever, knock on wood. But I do want to reiterate your point, and it's weird. It's like, 8-1, they're winning games. The offense does look good, mostly, but it's like that consistency is just not there. Goddard goes out today late in the game with an apparent arm injury. It's funny, watch the last couple of, drives without him, and it does make a difference.
Yeah. Well, dude, let me say this too before we go any further. Fucking Cowboys were playing dirty as shit today.
Yes, they were.
Grabbing his arm, twisting it and pulling him down by it onto it. Just after almost every play, there was some extracurricular started by the Cowboys. And I'm not just saying this as an Eagles fan. They were being scumbags.
Yeah, look at the penalty called on Byard, and that was after Ferguson threw him over his head.
Right. Next game, I mean, it's in Dallas, so it's tough to say, oh, we're going to go out and fucking smoke them. But I really expect there to be some kind of reprisal for the bullshit that happened today.
Yeah, there's got to be. And the other thing, too, I don't know, again, I hate to say this, being an obviously Eagles fan, but I noticed this all the way through was maybe this is just me, refs in their pocket on the Cowboys side, maybe 60-40. It was not even.
Well, dude, that's exactly what I said when I was looking at the touchdown that was not the one that Ferguson caught, where his knee was down half a yard before the goal line. The ref was standing right there, watched it, and then still called a touchdown.
Called it anyway. Yeah. Yep.
Like, no, not even a little bit, dude. It wasn't close. So go fuck yourself. Go back to Dallas, jizz in your cowboy hat, and then put it on.
Well, dude, and here's the crazy thing, too. That was the thing I noticed the entire game was, everything had to be overturned, or it was the review. Obviously, everything on scoring is always there's a review on it. It's like some of these plays are pretty obvious. Like,
right.
The human eye can see this.
Right.
This is one of the first times where I was like basically screaming at the television. Obviously, like that helps, but it's like in a sense of like completely helpless. Just like this is ridiculous. Like the referees were obviously showing some kind of. I don't know. And that's the other thing too. I don't know if you noticed. I'm kind of like, going a different direction here, but still with the referee thing, there were so many late whistles.
Yeah.
It just wasn't happening. And it was just like, what is going on here? Like, I get it. Like, let the stuff play out. But it's like the one play where Swift had it and he fumbled and he immediately got it back. And it's like, there's no whistle. It's like he's down on the ground, his elbows and his knees and every other part of his body.
Right. Right.
It
was nuts, man. Like there's a lot of stupid shit, but at the end of the day, we won the game. And as usual, fuck Dallas. Dak Prescott came out last week, and they were asking about everything. He said, "Well, today comes out and shows that I am the number one quarterback in the NFC." Laughable. Look, he did play well today. I can't take that away from him. He really did. But at the same time, He didn't deliver when it mattered most, and Jalen Hurts did.
Right, and I think that's that's going to parlay perfectly into our next conversation when we get into in a little bit here. We want to discuss some Phillies talk, and I just want to we'll use that as a little foreshadowing. But I do want to run some numbers with you, and we'll talk about this real quick about today's game. Dak was on fire, 29 of 44, 374, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Mm-hmm.
And even ran the ball a little bit, not very successfully, but 14 yards. I mean, dude, and CD Lamb finished with 11 and 191. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Jalen on the other side, look, he was a lot more accurate, but a lot less passes thrown to. 17 and 23, 207, 2 touchdowns, no picks, which is awesome. Thank God.
Yeah.
I think that was right. Yeah, did have to get the rushing touchdown off brotherly shove. The thing I want to say about the Jalen Hurts not throwing any picks was that was my biggest concern. And knowing that Dallas wasn't necessarily, I wasn't overly concerned about it, even though they're really good at forcing turnovers and making stuff happen out of that. I don't want to discount that on the Cowboys D. However, Jalen has been very interception happy in the first half of the season. So I was so glad to see no picks. I think that was my biggest happy takeaway from this game.
And that's the thing. Like he has been. There's no disputing that. The stats bear it out. I think what was happening at the beginning of the year was he was trying to play hero ball too much, and we saw that with Carson Wentz. If you remember, was it 2019 or I think it was 2019? Yeah, 2019, where he was just fucking launching it, and he was putting the ball up, and he was putting the team on his back because he had no one around him, so he was playing hero ball out of necessity.
Right.
Jalen Hurts doesn't have to.
No.
He has a team around him. So once he got through that phase and he was like, all right, hold on. I've got a team around me. I need to start. He's been accurate the whole season. So I saw a stat today and it's fantastic. And it was that he's now in this game, he was above 70% accuracy, completion percentage, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is 70 for this season. I believe he is now at 70% completion. Hit from his first year to now, he went from 61% completion to I think it was 62%. It was like 61 his rookie year, 62%, 67% last year, and he was at, or maybe 68% last year, and he's at 70 now, or somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Let me see. I don't know if this bears out. Yeah, he was over 70. Okay. He is really close to 70%. He's right at 69.
Yeah.
But no, if you bear it out though through his career though, he's a career in the low 60s, so he's bringing that up. But no, he on the year showing about a 69%, 70%. I don't know. I'm not sure if this Cowboys game is factored into this or not. I'm looking at ESPN stats. I know Pro Football Reference doesn't update until the night, so I wasn't even bothering looking at that.
Yeah.
But we can call that. I mean, look, you're right. He's basically improved his accuracy by 10 points in his short career already, which is pretty awesome from where he started. So now he's thrown 8 picks this year, so it's really good to see him not do that in this game. But you know what? Ultimately, they won 8-1. Now let's kind of run down real quick though where they go from here. So they get the bye week, and I think this is a good time for it because now you got to ramp up, and you're playing the Chiefs, the Bills, the Niners, and right back to Dallas to finish out your November and to begin December. Boy, I tell you what, man, I don't know of a rougher 4-game stretch, coming out of a bye of any other team.
Right.
That's tough.
And it's not even just that. So we go into the bye at Kansas City, back to Philly to play Buffalo and San Francisco, at Dallas, and then at Seattle, who has been
Right.
surprisingly, what's the word I'm looking for
Good.
here? Oh, I didn't want to say good. I want to say, but
Not bad.
surprisingly cromulent.
There you go. Well,
Yeah.
actually, except for today when Baltimore absolutely destroyed them.
Right. Well, and that's why I didn't want to say good. That's why I didn't want to say. I wanted to say something other than good because today they got to absolutely their blowers down off.
That needs to be on a shirt.
Yeah, their blowers down off.
The Baltimore Ravens. They'll blow you.
Delo, wait. They're
They'll. I don't even know what you said now.
Stone off your blowers.
Blowers.
Jeez.
I like it.
But yeah, so they've been cromulent, and see, we've got to go to Seattle to play them,
Which is always tough.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the good part about that is we can go to Dallas, which is, halfway, and get used to the time switch there, and then maybe they don't come home for after the Dallas game.
Oh,
maybe they go straight to Seattle, get used to it. I don't know. Because I really don't know. It's a veteran team, and they may just want to come home.
Yeah.
Especially depending upon how the game goes. If they go to Dallas and lose, they may not want to be on the road for another 7 days. You know what I mean?
Right.
8 days. And then come home and you finish up against the Giants at home, the Cardinals at home, and then on the road at the Giants, which is essentially still a home game because it's at MetLife. So let's run through the remainder of the schedule and see if anything has really where we think that they'll be for each game.
I think that's fair.
Just to see how we think this thing wraps up.
In Kansas City against the Chiefs, boy, I don't know. The Chiefs held on to a win today in Germany against Miami. But look, these aren't the same Chiefs. They don't scare me as much as they did last year. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with that game. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe it's Andy Reid still scares me.
Well, it's Andy Reid coming off a bye week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I lean on too. My thought process is I feel like we're capable of beating them, but I just don't know. I'm not sure how that plays out.
Chiefs defense has been really good this year. I think that's where the trouble's going to be. Offensively, they're just not the same. They're leaning much more on their defense than they, to me, have in this current run that they've had with Mahomes over the last few years. Defense has been really good for them, and I think that's what's kept them in ball games. And obviously, that's the reason why they're 7-2. And I think that's going to be your mark right there. Is if the Eagles can figure out, offensively, the Chiefs D. I think that's where that goes. But maybe I'll eat my words here. The Chiefs' offense just doesn't scare me like it did last year,
right?
At all.
And just for shits and giggles, Andy Reid, as an NFL coach, has a 27-4 record after the bye week.
Yeah, that's kind of why
Yeah. And so, as much as I want to say the Eagles will beat them and get revenge, you know what? Fuck it. The Eagles are going to beat them and get revenge.
There you go. All right.
Because I really look. Let's do this too. Taylor Swift ain't going to be at the game.
Good point.
She's going to be in South America somewhere because she's on tour again. She's not going to be at games really right now.
Oh, so whenever the camera pans up there, they're just going to show Jackson Mahomes standing in the background looking like a douchebag.
It'll be Jackson Mahomes just standing there like, I'm not even going to Yeah, Jackson Mahomes will just be standing there looking like a douchebag.
There you go.
That's all
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
We move.
Where are you going with that one?
I'm gonna. Unfortunately, I'm gonna say the loss there. I hate it.
Okay.
I think it'd be super close though. Like I'm thinking field goal game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. And that's the thing, like it really could go either way. I'm I guess maybe I'm just coming off of beating Dallas and like, no, fuck that. We're gonna win. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I completely get it. I just don't know. I think the part of the other rationale too is, like I said, the Chiefs D's been so good, and the Eagles previously dropping a game to the Jets, who, I mean, look, I don't think they're as bad as everyone thinks. But and then the close games with the Commanders, and I just kind of concerns me. But moving toward the game to the Bills at back at the link, the Bills are nowhere near what they were at all.
No.
I think the Eagles got this one pretty handily, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, and this goes back to something I said at the beginning of the season when we were going through this. I said the Bills were either going to be world beaters this year or they were going to completely fall off. And as we speak, they are 5-3 and currently losing to the Bengals 21-10 with 6:24 left in the third.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
and
think that this is
yeah,
this is not the Bills team that we've seen in years past. Um, is it the issues with chemistry between Stefan Diggs and the rest of the team? Is it, who there's something going on there, and this is not the same Bills team that we're used to. Josh Allen's throwing it uncharacteristic interceptions. He's kind of regressed to his rookie year. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of them, but I do know that this is going to be another win for the Eagles.
yeah, and offensively for the Bills, and this is before, excuse me, for the Bengals. I have to say this about the Bengals. Realize the Bengals are finally starting to come around, but the Bengals have, who you just mentioned, are currently beating the Bills 21-10. The third fewest points scored in the NFL,
Right.
only behind the Jets and the Giants. So that really speaks volumes of how good the Bengals have been this year, and they're currently up on the Bills by that much. So
Yeah, and like you said, you know what? The Bengals started off terribly this year. They finally started to turn around. Joe Burrow's looking like Joe Burrow again after being hurt to start the season. So he's probably getting healthy, and that's making things a little bit easier on the Bengals. But at the same time, this should be a much closer game. Um, I so in my eyes, no, the Bills are cooked this year.
yeah,
So
yeah, that should be a win no matter what.
yeah.
And then the funny thing is that I think this is one of the games I was halfway concerned about as I watched the Niners absolutely throttle the Cowboys. On Sunday Night Football a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
and now I don't even care.
Yeah, dude, look, Brock Purdy's coming back down to earth. People have some game tape on him. They've seen him. He's making his second round through the NFL, and they figured him out. And
Well,
especially without his weapons, because he's got a bunch of injuries too. People
yep,
are dinged up. He's not playing the way that he did last year. He threw three straight interceptions, I think, in the last game, or was it two straight interceptions?
yeah,
Or
something
three
crazy.
total. So I'm not worried about the Niners. That's another win.
Let's
Now,
see. Yeah,
week 14 against Dallas in Dallas. Initially, I do remember this for certain. I said, we're going to sweep Dallas. I don't necessarily know that that's going to be the case.
yeah, I don't know. This is one that I certainly, after tonight's game, obviously you still see all the fight that the Cowboys have. That's certainly, whatever we mentioned about the refs and some of the, BS there. The Cowboys are not pushovers. I mean, Dak almost threw up 400 yards on the Eagles today. Um, I think I'm going to go with what you said though. I'm going to say this is going to be a win, and I'm going to say it's going to be by a touchdown.
Okay. All right. So we're both, I am going to go loss. So we're both sitting at 3-1 for this second half of the schedule. We go to Seattle. If we lose to Dallas, we're not losing to Seattle.
Yeah, this is one of those weird ones where I have a feeling that if they beat Dallas, they'll lose to Seattle.
Yeah, no, seriously, it really could, um, it could be like that.
I really do. Like, I have a feeling, like, especially if they beat Dallas by like more than one score, Seattle's not going to throttle them, but Seattle's going to figure out a way to win.
Right, right.
You know?
I mean, but the problem is Seattle's so I don't know. I think Pete Carroll's done. I think he's fried as a coach, which is fine for me because I fucking hate him. Um, but their offense is not playing well. They have no running game to speak of. Even Kenneth Walker III is not playing well. He got held to 16 yards today on. I think he only ran the ball 3 times or something like that. But he got
Yeah,
held to 16 yards.
yeah, that's
They
not
just
good.
couldn't get the run game going. So, and Zach Charbonnet or Carbonet, however you say it, I think only had 2 yards or 3 yards. So, to me, Seattle's done. You can stick a fork in them, even though they're technically still in. Well, they might not be anymore, but they were tied or in the lead of the NFC West.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they had one of the better records in football. So,
Yeah, let's
yeah,
see. They're
yeah,
currently
5-3.
5-3, so they're tied with San Fran right now. Um, but man, I can't see them really being anything against us.
Now, talking about a weak division. So you have the Niners, Seahawks at 5-3. The Rams, who have dropped now the three straight. They're 3-6. Um, and then the Cardinals. I don't even know where to go with that.
1-8, and the one win was over the Cowboys. So
Yeah,
it just goes to show that the Eagles losing to the Jets isn't that big of a deal.
exactly.
You know,
I,
as
I,
much as we had it as the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Really, really wasn't that big a deal.
no, and if you remember what I said too, that was the same day that the Niners lost to the Browns
Yeah.
with Pete, and it wasn't Deshaun's Browns, it was PJ Walker's Browns. So,
Hey, honestly, I don't think we're going to see Deshaun again.
you think?
I think maybe he'll play another couple games this season, but I think they're going to be done with him because he was medically cleared and chose to sit out.
Good point.
So I don't
Good
know what's
point.
going on there, but maybe his agent needs to massage some numbers or something so he can.
But I think the reason why we spent so much time on those first 5 games, because those are the rough ones. Because honestly, the Eagles finished Giants, Cardinals, excuse me, had Giants, Cardinals, Eagles, Giants, Cardinals, Giants. If the Giants have played pretty tough games this year, but the weird thing is, like, their games that they've played tough, if you will, super low scoring.
Yeah.
Field goal. Basically it's field goals versus field goals. And my thing is, all the Eagles need to really do is score one touchdown in either of those games, and it's over.
Well, and look at it this way too. So for the last 3 weeks, because we play the Giants twice and the Cardinals right now, if you add up all of their wins and you're going to double the Giants because you're playing them twice, 5 wins between
Yeah.
those. Because the Giants are 2-7, the Cardinals are 1-8. And breaking news, they think that Daniel Jones tore his ACL.
No.
So
Are
he
they going to
won't
go
even
with
be
Tommy
reported.
DeVito for the rest of the year?
Yeah. So they're not even going to have Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones, after signing that massive contract, may have already played his last game as a Giant.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So honestly, if we get through from weeks 11 through 15 at 4-1, it doesn't really matter what we do week 16 through 18 as long as at that point I figure as long as we win 2 out of the 3. Hell, maybe not even 2 out of 3. We may only really need to win 1 out of those 3 games.
Yeah, because especially depending upon where they're at in week 18, they may just be throwing,
That might be the Mariota game.
you're right. Or, yeah, you're right. That probably is his time to shine.
Yeah. That's gonna be Mariota. That's where you're gonna see like Boston Scott as your starting running back. They'll probably throw I don't know, Mike Quick might come out of the booth to play wide receiver for a little bit. That's where you see your practice squad is gonna
Yeah.
everybody on the practice squad that still has elevations is gonna be elevated, and they're all going to play.
Yeah. It'll be a preseason game, basically.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, and I'm not upset with that. I feel like we're going to go. I feel like we will be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Obviously, barring any catastrophic injuries. If Jalen's knee gets worse, that will definitely change things. But he's doing a good job of doing what needs to be done.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think they will continue to protect him. His running game obviously is slowed. That was pretty evident here in the last few weeks anyway. They're going to try to protect him more. So you'll see. I think you'll see some elevated pass stats compared to his running game. He'll still get the brotherly shove touchdowns, but I just don't think you're going to see the Jalen run numbers that we had. Mainly because of that, trying to protect him. I mean, he doesn't need to be doing that if,
Yeah.
He's going to take enough bumps off the occasional sack anyway. So
right. So. Which hopefully they can get their line straight. I think Tyler Steen played pretty well today. I think he's only going to get better, but I would really like they were getting a lot of pressure off the edge, particularly Jordan Mailata's players that he was responsible for, him and not Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson. So the left side of the line was letting a lot of traffic through. Got to clean that up. Micah Parsons even split between Dickerson and Kelsey on the one play and disrupted things. So just some stuff that needs to be cleaned up from a protection perspective, But overall, man, you can't be upset with the game today. I'm not upset with where the Eagles are at the bye week. It's everything's lined up.
Yeah.
Everything's lined up. They have to go out, control the controllables, execute like they can execute, and we should be in for another fun winter of football.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. We do want to talk real quick, and we'll kind of we'll go into more detail on this. But kind of some thoughts we've had about what the Phillies could do this offseason. And we'll do more of a deep dive. We will never do a game by game preseason look.
Real quick breaking news. Phillies had 4 finalists for Gold Glove Awards. The only one who won was Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, yep. I did see Wheeler won his. That's that's something.
I don't know, man. I feel like
Stott should have won his.
Yeah, and that's kind of like everybody else. It's whatever. But
yeah, JT's already won a couple. It's kind of
I don't really care. I didn't really care if whoever else won them. I just really, really, really wanted Stott to win one.
Yeah, and I think he will.
Eventually he will.
The only thing with him, this could be one of those things that we discuss in more length. Maybe not for 24, but I have a suspicion that at some point you may have to move him back to shortstop.
Yes,
because Trey Turner wasn't exactly great. I mean, he flashed the glove, but my God, he committed a lot of errors.
Dude. Like, I realized that we got him for his offense, but I expected his defense to at least be serviceable. And he did it, like you said, at times he made some plays, but holy shit.
Yeah.
There were some plays where I'm like, dude, how do you make that? How do you not make that play? How does that happen when you're supposed to be one of the best shortstops in the game? And I know he's more offensively oriented, but I just
So he finished off the season with 23 errors, which I believe led the league. Negative 10 defensive runs saved and negative 3 outs above the average. So he was basically, costing the Phillies defensively and costing games and whatever, however you want to look at it that way. And granted, look, his bat turned around and everyone forgot about it. Seriously, the dude could have committed 100 errors and people would have forgotten about it because his bat was that on fire. So he's more than making up for it. But I completely agree. Like, you sign the guy knowing that he's pretty decent defensively, thinking you're going to get much more than basically the worst shortstop in baseball. You know what I mean? Because that's basically what he metriced out to defensively. Take his bat away. Oof. That's not good for someone that you're paying 300 whatever million. So I think at some point in the future, they do have to consider maybe they shift him to second base or
put him in the outfield.
Yeah, or do something right. Do something where he's not going to be a liability like that anyway. But let's talk real quick on the outfield. Then I do want to, like I said, we'll do more detail on this, but just some thoughts we had. You and I have been chit-chatting about, the possibilities of the Phillies signing Ohtani and then, maybe even making the trade for Trout or just making another trade or signing in general. Phillies right now with, still everyone under contract for a little while, still basically with Castellanos in right, Marsh in center, and I assume we could stick with a just saying right now Schwarber in left, or because he did play most of the season in left field, it really wasn't until the postseason that you started to see him DHing. And the reason why I say that's because you have Rojas going back to the minors, so he won't be out there. So you're not going to be able to do your Marsh Rojas thing like you saw in the playoffs.
Will he though?
I think they will. I really do.
I hope so. I'm concerned that they
I really think they will. He wasn't supposed to be, I think, thrust in the position that he was in necessarily. I think I texted you this. I think they wanted Christian Pache to be that guy. Pache is a more seasoned bat with not as good defensively, but still really good defensive outfielder. But Pache can't stay healthy. And so he gets hurt, and you automatically have to call up Rojas, who just dazzles with his glove, but really doesn't do a whole lot offensively.
Right.
And it's what sucked. It was like when he was coming up in the postseason in the 9-hole, it was like watching a pitcher bat. It just was bad. It was really bad. So yeah, I think he goes back to the minors, and this is where I think they either swing a move for a free agent or a trade. Now, what do you think? Are they going to make a move that way, or?
I hope so. I hope he needs to go back to the minors, like you said, needs to get his confidence up, get his bat ready. Looking at who they have eligible for salary arbitration, they've got Jeff Hoffman, who I would imagine
they better sign him for give him a 2-3 year deal.
Right. Ranger Suarez, who I would say, you need to get him.
Yeah, better make sure he stays, obviously.
Gregory Soto, who do we keep him on the team or do we let him go? I'm almost inclined to let him go.
Yeah, there's got to be. I mean, look, to me, they got more mileage out of, and I hate to say this, but trash heap Jeff Hoffman than they did making the trade and for Soto, who they traded Vierling and Nick Maton. And there were times in this season where I would have much rather had Matt Vierling up there than Jake Cave.
Yeah. Well, who comes to my next? Jake Cave and Dylan Covey. And then you've got
which I hope to God that guy's gone.
Well, yeah. And then you've got Alec Boehm, Edmundo Sosa, and Garrett Stubbs.
Yeah, Stubbs will be back. Boehm, I think, is the only one that I thought, the Phillies, if they were really trying to swing a trade, I have a sneaky suspicion that he could be mentioned. My fear is that Marsh would be in there, especially if they make a trade for an outfielder.
Right.
That's a kind of a concerning thing. Sosa's got to be back, I would think, although he really wasn't as much of the bat as he was in 22. He's still a pretty versatile player. You can kind of slot him around a bit, so I'd imagine he still would have a bench role.
Yeah,
I would think, mainly because I would imagine he's still cheap enough too, for whatever his role would be. I don't know. I would like to think that they make a play for Ohtani. I don't know that they do.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a realistic thing for them to swing a trade for Trout, maybe, but or somebody of a higher caliber. Um, so
The problem is who would be available at that point. Um, but and who knows? I mean, look, the winter meetings and the off season always end up uncovering some interesting stories and some interesting storylines and we don't know what may shake out. There may be a player that it turns out is super unhappy with his team, or a team that's super unhappy with a player, and it just so happens to fit well with what the Phillies are doing, and the Phillies are able to swing a trade.
yeah,
You know, I what in my dream world here, we're bringing in Otani. We're figuring out a relatively cheap deal for Trout, and then we're getting. I have to say Nolo's got to walk
yeah.
just because $200,000 for 8 years for him isn't worth it to me.
No, too much on the money side for him. I wouldn't do the contract there. If you do that, you look at having Otani available. If you do actually push that kind of money toward him, obviously he's not going to pitch this year, but
Right.
25 and moving forward. But I do like the Jordan Montgomery thing. I think he would be a much more reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that his track record is there, but you know what? The guy's a World Series ring now, and I get to see a lot of his work with the Cardinals. I think he would be a good fit. Obviously, they have to sign that relief pitcher, Will Smith.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that,
Um,
because the man now has 3 in a row. So basically, whatever team he's on is going to win the World Series. So
right. And looking at just their other free agents that we have, obviously Nola, Reese Hoskins, Craig Kimbrell, and Michael Lorenzen. And as far as I'm concerned, Reese might have a place with us, but everybody else can move on.
yeah, Kimbrel's gone, Lorenzen's gone. Now what see with them obviously kicking Kimbrel to the curb, that may obviously factor in their decisions on Soto to try to
Right.
keep someone else in the pen that at least has some kind of closing experience. But I think they'll make a move to shore that up too. Is look at another bullpen piece, definitely an outfielder, and obviously starting pitching. I don't think they bring back Nola. I keep hearing Blake Snell, but Blake Snell is just going to be just as expensive, and I think he's a little older, like a year maybe. Maybe
Yeah.
And look, the guy has won a Cy Young. I think he might win it again this year. But I don't know that I do that, honestly. If you're going to go after Blake Snell, you might as well just re-sign Nola.
Right.
I realize Nola's not a Cy Young award winner, but at least he knows the team.
Right.
I'm not, maybe I'm wrong in thinking that, but if I'm going to give $200 million to a pitcher, because that's exactly what Snell's going to command, he's probably going to command the same amount of time. You may as well just give it to the guy you drafted,
Right.
because you're probably he's been serviceable. Snell doesn't know. And to me, like, you save that money, you go Montgomery, you dump money in the outfield, you dump money in bullpen spot. I don't know. Everything else is pretty short up, though. It just the other spot, like you mentioned with Reese Hoskins, is what does Harper decide he wants to do?
Right.
Because if he wants to go back to the outfield, which whatever, that's his deal, that obviously changes things big time. Because then you could re-sign Reese,
Right.
stick him right at first.
Yeah.
Right,
Put him in the
back.
first. But Reese is one of those. Look, man, I think he's a great clubhouse guy. If we could hire him to be a mascot, I'm for it. But he's not. He's too streaky as a hitter.
Oh yeah, he's very similar to Castellanos and
right, and Schwarber and half the rest of the lineup. We have to get some guys that can just hit consistently, and that's something we don't have.
no.
And outside of Harper, Harper, but even Harper and Ramuto get streaky at times.
Yeah.
I really like Rhys Hoskins. I really truly do. And I would hate to let him walk, but I don't really see a way around it at this point.
Yeah, no, it's just there's not really a spot there. No, I agree. They need to have a 300 hitter like on the team. They just really do. That's not Bryce, and you're not gonna get it with anyone that's currently there, unless Stott.
Stott,
Yeah,
or I would even say if Trey. I mean, Trey is a former National League batting champion.
yeah. He just needs to get his head out of his ass.
Yeah, he just needs to keep his head about him for a full season, and he could be that steadying presence.
Yeah,
But I mean, he even showed in the playoffs he can be that. But we got to see it out a full season out of it.
exactly.
At this point.
Exactly.
One thing that's really intriguing to me, as far as on the pitching side of things, is there's a couple Japanese pitchers that look really, really good. Let me see if I can say this dude's name: Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
I think you did. That was good.
And then we've got Shota Imanaga. So if we can get one of them two, Imanaga is going to be a 3 or 4. And Yamamoto is a 1 or 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at that guy's numbers in Japan, 70 and 20. This is Yamamoto, 70 and 29, a 182 with 922 strikeouts, and that's over the course of, I believe, 6-ish seasons. Yeah, that guy's just.
Yeah, now he's somebody I would pay $200 million plus for.
Yeah, that was the one thing I loved about seeing the Mets get the Kodai Senga. I mean, that guy, the Mets are really, really bad, but Senga went to an under 3 ERA. I mean, very solid season.
Yeah.
I mean, he a couple hundred strikeouts. I mean, for his first year in the bigs, and he played with a really, really, really bad team. I mean, hopefully, I think maybe the Phillies should. I agree.
And he's only 25.
Yeah.
So you're talking about. It's not like you're talking about a guy that's you're not talking about somebody that's been in the Japanese league or the Nippon league for years. You're talking about somebody he's already had in the last 2 years. He's won MVP and Japan's top pitching award for each of the past 2 years, and you're getting him as he's hitting his prime.
Yeah.
You're not getting a 30-year-old dude. You're not getting a 35-year-old guy that wants to just try and get into the show for, you're getting somebody in their prime. Go get him.
Yeah.
Do it. John Middleton. I know you listen to our show on a daily basis. And you re-listen to episodes because you love us. Go get him.